seems that there still may be hope for The Last of Us Part 3 after all. A few weeks ago, Neil Druckmann dropped the bombshell saying to not bet on there being any more TLOU. So it was safe to assume, it was safe to say that The Last of Us Part 3 was canceled. However, there's been a new rumor, apparently some insider leaks about The Last of Us Part 3 confirming that the game is a thing, and apparently the lie detector test has determined what Neil Druckmann said was an absolute fucking lie. I don't know if this guy wants people to hate him and just dislike him in general, but it seems like he's achieving that goal very well. I don't know, you do you, boo-boo, but apparently there's been another article saying, hey, TLOU 3 is a thing. We have these leaks, we have these rumors, so we're gonna go over it, see if it's legit or not, and we're gonna have a discussion on it, guys, all right? First thing you see is it says rumor, so I guess take this with a grain of salt. More The Last of Us 3 details leak online. It says Naughty Dog has yet to announce a third entry into the Last of Us series, but one leaker claims the studio is already working on the project and has released a few supposed details. It's been 5 years since the controversial sequel to Naughty Dog's groundbreaking zombie title was released, and fans have eagerly anticipated more since then. While all official news has centered around the television adaptation and the studio's next franchise, The Last of Us may still have something in store for fans of the series. While Season 1 of The Last of Us live-action TV show was a big hit, the future of the game series remains uncertain. Naughty Dog canceled The Last of Us Online after 4 years of development. You gotta fucking remind us. These are sad times. Still a gut punch every time I hear it, I see it, I read it. Anyways. The studio is currently working on a different title, the sci-fi intergalactic heretic prophet fucking space lesbian game. Still, working on one game doesn't mean the teams aren't also developing another. Exactly, it's one thing you gotta understand. In a Patreon post reported by comicbook.com, noted leaker and entertainment industry insider Daniel Richman claims The Last of Us Part 3 has already begun casting. According to Richmond, part of the game will follow a group of new characters holding out against the infected in an old Victorian house. Interesting. I don't know who this Daniel Richmond guy is, but we're just gonna run with this rumor here. Like I said, this isn't proven factual shit. This is just rumor. Power struggle reportedly develops between two of the characters, Val and Mason, suggesting the Victorian house plot could be a major story point for the game. Still, it's unclear if this arc will be the focus or just a part of a larger, more complex narrative. There are still questions that Last of Us Part 2 leaves unanswered, so the third game will hopefully follow up on those characters like Ellie and Abby if it happens, but Richmond's leaks have not mentioned them so far. That is interesting, to have insider information and the leak that you release doesn't even have anything to do with like the main characters. Yeah, it says rumor claim Last of Us Part 3 is casting and will follow new characters. You're not gonna tell me that like Ellie and Abby just isn't in the game. Like unless it's unless like The Last of Us Part 3 isn't Part 3 per se, like it's a spin-off and we're just following different characters. Like it's within the Last of Us universe, but it's not like a direct sequel to Part 2. In addition to Val and Mason, the leak mentions 3 characters named Gracie, Ezra, and Lucas, the latter of whom reportedly forms a relationship with another character and has a dark turn. Beyond that, story details are scarce, which makes sense if the game has only begun casting. If these rumors are true, the game is likely still in its early stages of development, and the script is liable to change. Of course, there's no guarantee that a third The Last of Us will even happen. Series creator Neil Druckmann has suggested that The Last of Us will end with the TV show, though he has also said he's floated ideas for another sequel in the past, which is what we went over in the last video. If Naughty Dog is currently working on The Last of Us Part 3, it will be a while before fans hear any official news. Druckmann said Intergalactic still has a ways before completion, and that title still has no release window, so the studio will most likely finish more development on that game before bringing attention to a potential third The Last of Us game. Quite a bit to unpack here. So if I'm not mistaken, that these rumors that they talked about with these characters in the Victorian house were actually like old rumors. Granted, that doesn't mean that they've been disproved or debunked. But it's not like necessarily brand new information, other than that he said that they've casted actors and actresses to film like cutscenes, like how they've done in the previous games. That is interesting. Like, again, I don't know who this Daniel Richmond guy is. I don't know if he's a credible source. He said he's an insider. But I mean, hey, if this is what gives us hope for a potential third Last of Us game, I'm gonna run with it, man. It's interesting that they have so many different new characters, but then again, The Last of Us Part 2, it introduced a couple new characters, so I guess it's nothing too crazy, nothing too different. Hopefully Ellie and Abby are in it, at least some way. I don't know if they would give us new main characters. They could be just side characters. But one thing that I am interested, because I said earlier, is like, well, maybe if it's going to follow new characters, maybe it's a spin-off game. Maybe they're working on like a spin-off game, not like a direct sequel. Because the more I read, I don't know if it's just me, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but like the more that I see that like bringing in like, what is this, like 5 new characters that there's supposedly the game is going to follow. Val, Mason, Gracie, Ezra, and Lucas. That's 5 new characters that apparently the game is going to follow. That makes me think that this is going to be a spin-off game. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base here.
I don't have a story, but I do have that concept that to me is as exciting as 1, as exciting as 2, is its own thing, and yet has this through line for all 3.
Right there. Right there. Right there. Am I reading too much into that? Am I crazy? He says, is its own thing. Is its own thing. I don't know. That makes me also think that it could be a spin-off.
Is its own thing, and yet has this through line for all 3.
For all 3. I don't know.
It does feel like there's probably one more chapter to the story.
Probably one more chapter to the story. So, I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I just got my tinfoil hat on. It's interesting, man, to say the least. We have all of these new characters, 5 new characters that are going to be introduced in this new The Last of Us game. And it says they will follow these new characters. So it makes it seem like they're going to be main characters. They're not just going to be side characters. Like they're going to be important people in this game. But to be 5 of them, that seems like a lot. Like it's almost, like you said, telling it its own story. So like maybe it's its own game off to the side, like a spin-off, if you're gonna follow 5 new characters. Or I could be wrong, and The Last of Us Part 3 is such a gigantic game that it's just gonna be able to tell a story wrapped around 5 new characters, also wrapped around Ellie, Abby, Lev, and whoever else. It's all speculation, you know, like I said, this is all rumors, supposed leaks, so take all of this stuff with a grain of salt. It is interesting to read this stuff. It's interesting to dive in, try to put the tinfoil hat on, try to assume and speculate what The Last of Us Part 3 is going to entail. Let me know what you guys think below in the comments, man. Let's have a discussion. Do you guys think The Last of Us Part 3 is still in development? I sure hope it is, right? That's all we can do, right? Hang on to hope and believe that is going to happen. The Last of Us is such a massive franchise, man. I feel like there's no way that they couldn't make a part 3. The question is it going to be a spin-off? Like I said, I mean, following 5 new characters, that seems like a lot to add on to, with also being involved with Ellie, Abby, Lev, and whoever else. Let me know in the comments, man. Let's have a discussion below. I'm curious to see what you guys think, what your guys' thoughts are. Until then, I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, thanks for liking, and thanks for subscribing. I'll see you in the next one.